Lowest yards per carry against stacked fronts. Lowest yards per carry against stacked fronts among running backs. At least 75 carries. I'll tell you one thing, one hint. It is not a player on this list. That would be a pretty terrible stat of the day to start off with guys I want you to draft. So not anyone on this list. I didn't actually check them, but I know they were not at the bottom. So let's start things off. And this only order that this is in, it's not in order of like most favorite to least favorite or vice versa. This is in order of ADP. So I tried to keep everyone, the titles early. So I tried to keep everyone in those first like 5 rounds, roughly. And I wanted to get someone like a little bit towards the beginning, more in the middle, more towards the end of that range. I tried to even it out. But the earliest I could go was Melvin Gordon, because I kind of wanted to try at least to pick people who I have ranked above consensus by a decent amount. You'll see that some of them aren't. They're just ranked accurately, but it's still a great value. Melvin Gordon is ranked improperly in my opinion. I have him as running back 6. So the number you see on the left, it'll say running back 10. That's ADP. And then running back 6 is where I have him. Why do I have him so high? Well, potentially tomorrow, I'll be releasing the video, if it gets done, if I can finish the research, on how do you predict a breakout running back? How do you predict just not even a breakout? How do you predict a monster season? I'm trying to run a bunch of models to tell me what statistics forecast success. Which ones are the most predictive? People throw that word around a lot. This is the most predictive. That's the most predictive. I'm not sure anyone's actually checked to see if they are. People just kind of say it they are. I'm checking. And early indications, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm honestly not sure I'm going to finish the video because it's very challenging and things are not predictive season to season. You can't just look at someone's athletic profile. You can't just look at what someone did in the past because things change so much. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the algorithm's getting things wrong when an entire situation is different that it has no chance to account for. There's just no statistics built in to know how they drafted someone or that they changed teams and then the OC changed. Just all these things can change. So what I'll say is opportunity is king. That's what I'll say. It's not as much about where you're drafted. It's not as much, honestly, even about how athletic you are. It's opportunity. If you're involved in the offense, you're going to score fantasy points. And if you're super athletic, that doesn't mean anything if you're not involved in the offense. That's all I'll say about the video, but I wanted to put that out there just because I'm not sure I'll actually be able to release the video since the model is struggling. I'll say that. It's struggling to predict. But on to this part, I bring that up because opportunity is king with Melvin Gordon. He is going to have a massive opportunity share. 3rd in rushing attempts last season. He's been increasing his receptions every single year, 33, 41, 58. No Hunter Henry, no Antonio Gates as of right now. Who knows if he comes out of retirement. But he's got secured goal line work. He's going to be very involved in the passing game. I'm not concerned about, what was it, like the 7th round or something? They drafted Jackson. Jackson's hurt. It's going to be essentially the same running back situation they had last season. Eckler looks good. I don't know why they drafted that other guy. But Eckler's the backup. Eckler is going to be used a little bit. But it's Melvin. Melvin's the guy. 6th easiest run defense schedule. 9.5 projected wins. We talk about that a lot in game script. You can't predict game script season long because like they're going to have some good, have some bad. You can't do that. But week to week you can. And if a team's going to be winning a lot of games, that heavily favors the running back. This is the best offensive line he has had in his career, and he's just 25 years old. He is about to enter the stretch where we expect the most production. Really like 24 to 27, we expect running backs to be at their peak. So he is about to peak. We're getting him at an insane value, going to be hyper involved in the offense. And again, I go back to the potential video I'm releasing. Opportunity is honestly the only thing you should be doing. If you can only work on one thing, you can only research one thing. Don't research athleticism. Don't research, you don't have to research where people are drafted, but those things do not matter as much as people kind of want to admit, and what I want to admit, because I want to think these things matter. Volume. If you see a situation where running backs can get a ton of volume, that's what you go after. Moving on to another guy who, guess what, is going to have volume. And spoiler, everyone on this list is going to have volume. Devonta Freeman, going as running back 12. I have him as running back 10. Just got a 5-year, $41.25 million contract. If that doesn't say that the team is invested in you, I don't know what does. Running backs don't get paid. He just got paid. $22 million guaranteed. His opponents this season allowed the 4th highest early down success rate to running backs. That is important because I think they're going to improve this season. And if that means they're going to win more games, that means in the second half, they're going to be running the ball a lot on early downs. And if these teams are giving up a high success rate, that's a very good indication for Devonta Freeman, who will be the early down back. He's finished as running back 1, 3, and 13. They have the 3rd ranked offensive line in the league this season. They're going to see positive regression. We saw 2 years ago, I think it was, whatever the season, Matt Ryan had the MVP season. Everyone in the world knew they were going to regress. Everyone. It was the most obvious thing ever. We did not expect, however, for them to regress past the mean and then see the other half. See the the outlier season on the bottom. So they went from the one extreme in the high to an extreme in the low. I have to think that they're going to be somewhere in the middle. And as long as they're not where they were last season, he'll finish as running back 1. I mean, we saw the floor. Last season, in my opinion, was Devonta Freeman's floor at running back 13. So that's safe. 13 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns last 3 seasons. He's missed 2 total games from injury. Safety. Remember I talk about the first 4 rounds in like every single video? You have to get safe players in the first 4 rounds. This is a fantastic second round pick. Wherever you can really get him in the second round. I'm not even that concerned if it's early second round at all. He's safe, and he has shown us top overall running back upside. So it's not like I'm telling you, Christian McCaffrey. I personally don't really draft him because I think that his upside is capped. Even though he's got that great floor because we know he's going to catch the ball, his upside's capped. The touchdowns are capped. The rushing is capped. It's not with Freeman. He's got that receiving floor, but he's got massive touchdown upside, and he's got really good rushing upside. It's not like league-leading rushing upside, but if he could get legitimately 1,200 on the ground, a few hundred through the air, plus 15 touchdowns, that is in his range of outcomes easily. So I love him as a pick. I think he's being very undervalued. Next running back, not someone you think of when you think of PPR. Again, all of our rankings and all of our top 5s and really most of our advice, unless it says standard, is for PPR scoring or half point. Those are kind of close. For Howard, obviously everyone knows he's better in standard, a little bit worse in half point, and a little bit worse in full point PPR, but that's built into ADP. You're not drafting him at the exact same spot in all these leagues. I think in PPR, people bump him down a little bit too much. Going as running back 15, or going as running back 16, I have him as running back 15, 79th percentile height adjusted speed score, 15 runs of 15 or more yards last season. That was good for 4th in the league. Faced the 5th toughest schedule of run defenses last season. It's easier this year. He's going to face an easier rush defense schedule this season. They have an above average offensive line, and they're an improved offense. It is impossible for them to not improve from last season. And yet, under a terrible offense, everyone knew they were running. He had very little receptions. He finished as running back 14 in PPR scoring. So, like I talk about with Freeman, we saw his floor. Jordan Howard's floor is running back 14 because they were an awful offense that didn't score a ton of points, and he wasn't very involved in the passing game. Well, he's been working on his receiving abilities. They're a much improved offense who's going to score more touchdowns. He could easily finish with 12 or more touchdowns. And now they're going to win more games, so they'll be able to run the ball a little bit more in the second half. Fantastic. I think he's an awesome pick. People don't want to draft him in PPR scoring. Take advantage of that because you will be in leagues where he starts dropping past this point because people look at the name, they think Tariq Cohen, they go, no, I can't draft him because he doesn't catch. Well, we don't know that. He's not a good catcher. Like, don't get me wrong. He's not that good at catching the football. But could he improve to maybe 28 receptions? And if he does that and then gets to 12 touchdowns and keeps his rushing totals, he's all of a sudden in that like top 7 or 8. And you drafted him at running back 16. So I think where you're getting him is his floor, which again is a very safe pick. Next on the list, 4th in the top 5, going as running back 21. My running back 12. Alex Collins, he had 15.4 points per game from week 8 on last season. That's when he basically started being the running back. That's low-end running back 1 production. So we've already seen it from him when they had a pretty down year last year. Their offense was not very good because they didn't really have anyone to throw. Well, now they have John Brown, who I think hopefully can put it together this season. They've got Crabtree, and they've still got that fantastic defense. Will you say, okay, where's the competition? It's nowhere. In my opinion, there is absolutely no competition behind him. I'm done with Dixon. I liked his talent. I liked his potential. I liked him as a flyer every year. I'm done. He can't stay healthy. He just cannot get onto the field and produce, because he's good when he gets on the field to produce. He's good. But I'm done. There's no way I'd ever draft Dixon, and there's no way I'm considering him a threat anymore. There's no way in the world Buck Allen is a threat to Alex Collins. Alex Collins is a very good running back. Highest run grade in 2017, second highest breakaway run rate, and that was facing a really tough defensive schedule. This season, it's going to be easier. So their offense improves. They're facing an easier schedule. Does this ring a bell? I just talked about a player who's doing the same thing. This is what you look for. You look for players who did good under difficult situations and that are being undervalued because of that. Alex Collins and Jordan Howard did very well last season, facing tough defenses on an offense that was basically anemic. Both of their offenses will improve. Howard has a better O-line. I'm not going to say the Ravens have a good offensive line, but their offenses will improve. They're going to score more touchdowns, and they're going to face easier opponents. And yet, they're being undervalued for even the production they already performed in the past. So I absolutely love him as a pick. You guys already saw me break him down in the top 5 overall picks in the draft. I think he's a fantastic pick, and I'm going to be very sad if he ends up busting. But I don't think he will. I have him ranked again as running back 12, going as running back 21. Moving on to the final guy on this list, just ekes into the early round. I didn't really know where to cap early round, but I think running back 25 is still relatively early. It's Lamar Miller. I have him as running back 18, and it's essentially because I don't see competition. Foreman is likely to start in the pup. I haven't heard anything about him being on the field and being good to go. And if that's not happening now, there's no way they just throw him into action. But let's say they do. Let's just say that he miraculously comes back and he's good to go. I still don't think that matters that much because I don't think he's all that good. I think he's very overhyped, and that recency bias is just insane on him. The last thing you remember is what? A long touchdown run. And we always remember, shout out to Sam Eisenberg in my master's program, the biggest thing we remember from events is the high point, the low point, and the end. We saw the high point come at the end for Foreman. He was putting together his best game. People were super excited. He's taking over for Lamar Miller. He scored a long touchdown, gets hurt. People are translating that into something that they think happened like every single game. That's not what happened. He had a few good carries the entire season. That was his only game, 65 or more rushing yards. He wasn't that good, but people hype him up because of what they remember. They remember that high point coming right at the end. I'm not saying Miller's that good, because I don't think Miller's a good running back either. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. If Foreman opens up on the pup, Miller's the only guy that they're going to use any real amount. I mean, they're going to use other guys sprinkled in, but it's going to be Lamar Miller. And when teams are leading in the second half of games, they go 64% run on early downs. I brought that up a few times already. Thank you, Warren Sharp, for doing awesome research. 64% run on early downs when leading. Oh, and they also have one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league, which always helps out running backs. So you're getting the lead back, who's also going to be the third down back, on a team that has the league's easiest schedule with a mobile quarterback as a running back 3. That doesn't make sense. None of that makes sense. He should not be a running back 3. Even if he was going at RB18, so if he jumps up 7 spots to where I have him ranked, he's still a good pick. Because is he going to finish as the running back 1? No. No one thinks he's going to do that because he's not going to. But he's going to provide you value. And that's what I want to close out these first 4 rounds. You can get him in the 4th round right now. Once you hit the 5th round, 6th, 7th round, success rate falls off a cliff. So make sure you're safe in your first 4 rounds. I've just given you players that I think, personally, are extremely safe to draft. The only real way any of these guys bust is due to an injury. And since we don't predict injuries here, because none of us are doctors, and even if we were, doctors can't forecast injuries into the future, football is a violent game, people get hurt. Someone could get hurt, that doesn't make them a bust. That makes it an unfortunate situation. Throw injuries out the door, these guys won't bust. So, I know a lot of you are drafting very soon. Make sure you are 100% good to go when you enter that draft room. Make sure you have a premium membership to our website, getting our articles, getting access to the chat, getting all